everyone. It is 9:30, so we are going to start our mobility coordinating working group meeting. Thank you everyone for attending. We're first go around and do introductions. So I will start and then I will, move towards my left or my right. I am Lisa Gagnon. I'm the transit planner here at PPACG.
Seth Chapin, Director of Transportation for Silver Key Senior Services.
Good morning, Ronnie Gordon, Teller Senior Coalition Transportation Manager.
And I can introduce myself, Jared Verner, PPACG.
So thank you. And then online, I can do them just so it's a little bit easier. There's Eric Ash and Sagan Falconer from Invita, and then Deanna Rumsey. And then we have a couple note takers. Thank you, everyone. We are first going to get into the informational items and kind of explain how this new structure is working, since we're not a committee anymore, we're more of a working group. So as you notice, we do not approve the there's no consent items, no first chair, second. We're moving away from that, and the main is that it's more staff, so more that I will be discussions and open-ended discussion with the other of the working group. There will not be any quorum, and we're not going to be voting on any action items. If there is something similar to an action item that will need to be discussed, take it forward and maybe go to the TAC, the Transportation Advisory Council. But how these are going to be set up, that they're just more information sharing, working out problems, and just overall just more of a working group. Is there any questions on that structure of how that is laid out versus a committee? Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is Jared for a legislative update.
Good morning, everyone. Jared Verner, Public Policy and Communications Manager at PPAC. The legislature is in full swing. We've got until May 14th for everybody to pass bills and get everything across the finish line. But I wanted to bring to this working group two bills of note and then just kind of a general budget update. So the first bill, House Bill 261043, this is called the Transportation Network Company Discriminatory Practices Bill. And what this bill does, it provides additional upper limits on civil penalties for transportation network companies. Think of without saying names, these are your rideshare on-demand services. I don't think it would apply to anybody directly in this room, but think of the ones that start with a U and an L, and you'll be on the right track. But this provides increased penalties from $550 up to $5,000 for a transportation network company who refuses to pick up somebody for discriminatory. Going to be someone with disabilities or someone with a service animal, and so that's already against the law. There's already penalties against it. This just ups those penalties. PPAC support position on this particular bill. It did advance out of House Committee on Business Affairs and Labor last week on a 13-0 vote. So it's encouraging there is strong bipartisan support for this. It is currently in House Finance Committee for its next hearing. So that's kind of House Bill 26. Yeah, I don't think it, like I said, it doesn't directly impact anybody here, but it's more so if someone were to call you a ride and you can't fulfill it and you were to refer them to someone like this, you should have a little more confidence in knowing that they should be able to get to where they need to get without facing any kind of discrimination. Any questions on 1043? Okay, I see no hands raised online or in person, so I'll go to the next one, which is House Bill 61269, called Transit Access. Well, we have, I wouldn't, I will say we through the development process, but to say that we would imply that and feedback we did to an, I don't think we were particularly invited in the process. This would apply to anybody who operates a fixed route service. So I believe that would apply to MMT, Fountain Transit, as well as Teller Senior Coalition. And what this does is it requires any covered transit agency, so those three, but anybody else who provides fixed route service, to provide unlimited rides to individuals in box. So it's capped. They could reapply. With established each county provide services for people with homelessness or verge of homelessness in the ways as anyone who's receiving rent from a public housing agent. Um, Again, this is unlimited periods. Concerns while we of the bill, MMT already has a program with this for rescue mission. They have programs in place for emergency situations, regional office of emergency management and other housing agencies in cold weather scenarios. Heard this was coming from land city committee yesterday. It would be about a hit to MMT specific. And I see Jacob, Matthew are online, so feel free if you guys want to, but it would significantly impact up likely resulting in reductions. MMT has done a very good job in service throughout the last couple of years. Increase frequency, on weekends and that kind of thing. I'm not quite sure what the bills are ultimately looking. Thank goodness that they didn't merge transit category like because RTD is probably going to be facing challenges from federal definitions with the reauthorization. What could be going. PPACG has not yet taken a position on this bill. This was introduced last week. The legislative committee did not have the members when I met yesterday. Imagine that Pikes Peak Area Council post position on this bill. Past this isn't an amended position. I don't know what those like, but it has been introduced relatively recently. So I think a lot of people are probably digesting what that looks like. Happy to answer any questions on 1269. And like I said, if Jacob or Matthew want to chime in, feel free.
Jared, this is Jacob. I think you kind of hit the high points on it, and kind of like you mentioned our the kind of the homeless outreach response that we have during cold weather. So during more extreme weather events and cold, we do provide free transportation to those homeless shelters, and we are seeing that being used. The difference there is we don't have any kind of a rental assistance within that particular program. But in terms of the transit access, really hit the highlights. So thank you.
All right, thank you. I always defer. Know enough to be dangerous, enough to try to not step feet. Appreciate everyone confirming or correcting me if need.
Thank you.
I was going to talk. Sorry. So just kind of talking on. So the state is in kind of a recurring budget scenario where this year it's about $850 million that they need to cut for the upcoming fiscal year. The Joint Budget Committee has already indicated that for dollars specifically that there's a portion of MMOF that is funded through like the retail delivery fee and some other fees, but there's also a portion of it that is funded through a recurring appropriation from the general fund. The Joint Budget Committee in this discussions has already discussed about not providing that recurring appropriation to the MMOF for the upcoming fiscal year. However, they are looking to provide enough that would keep bus staying, the MMOF portion that funds bus staying in place. So good for intercity transit, but bad for a lot of the other locals who rely on MMOF for a lot of their other projects. Obviously, still a lot that needs to be considered there, but I just want to at least provide you that that's kind of discussions that the JPC is looking at. Related to bus staying, there's also some ongoing discussions about long-term bus staying funding. And so bus staying expanded service a couple of years ago, thanks to some one-time money as a pilot program. That one-time funding is now gone. And so there's some discussions that they've seen some really good ridership increases in the last couple of years from the increased funding. I think especially on the north route between Denver and Fort Collins. But they've also, I think for our area, they increased from 6 to 12 round trips between here and Denver I think they increased from like 4 to 15 from Grand Junction to Denver, in addition to some of the outrider services that they provide. I think looking at what CDOT talked about at the Transportation Commission last week, I think they have a solution to try to get through the upcoming fiscal year. They're still going to be a little bit short, but they've really narrowed that deficit. But there's an ongoing discussion in the Transportation Committee, especially for those out years. So not the next fiscal year, but following fiscal years, about how they manage that deficit, which is right around about $50 million a year, 50. And so it's significant. And so they are right now, I think based on the discussion at the Transportation Commission last week, Plan A is to see what they can use with the CTIO, which is another enterprise managed by CDOT, but CTIO funds that could go operations for the money that collect from the express lanes. But that's their problem. And they capital, so per thing is especially on the north side. Think, yeah. And so they've done a lot of capital projects that support transit, but they have not done operations support to this level. There's a little bit of discussion on whether CTIO would be able to, just from a legal enterprise setup perspective. And so there's that discussion. CTIO has also said, and through statute, they have a lot of other requirements that they need to do when it comes to passenger rail, when it comes to some other projects by statute that they need to fulfill as well. Like I said, I think that's kind of where they're looking at addressing most of that. I don't know if it'll cover that entire deficit, and so what that looks like in the out years, whether CDOT moves some money internally to fulfill that, whether they try to get appropriations from the state. Again, with the state facing $850 million deficit this year, who knows about next year? What that looks like, I don't know. But it's kind of let everyone know that that's kind of the discussion that's taking place between MMOF funding for upcoming years, as well as kind of what the long-term future of Mustang looks like. From the last TC discussion last week, service reduction was not discussed. I don't know what that would look like. Like I said, I know the North Line is incredibly popular. I'm a frequent user of the South Line. It is not nearly as used as the Fort Collins route, but I use it quite a bit. So I just kind of want to provide that update. Still a lot to happen between now and the end of the session. We would expect the Joint Budget Committee to start finalizing its proposed budget for the upcoming year in about a month, late March, early April, for us to get some more clarity on what the next fiscal year looks like. Any questions on the budget? Okay, I'm glad to uplift and inspire everybody with budget discussions. So I think that's it.
Thank you, Jared. Here at PPACG, we do have a legislative committee that meets every other Monday at 8:30 a.m. It is open to the public. I do recommend attending to learn more about these bills and how they're going through the process. I can email updates, especially on those two bills and the budget. But the next time we meet won't be until April, so a lot will happen. So I do recommend every other Monday. So they just met yesterday, so 2 Mondays. If you can attend, if not, might send out let's say monthly email recap of where PPACG stands on those bills, and then how they're going through the committee process. So thank you, Jared. I'm sorry you have the terrible job of giving slightly bad news, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So on the next item is the Mobility Summit. CASA is putting on a Mobility Summit this May at their spring conference. It is the first day. It is Tuesday, May 12th from 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. roughly. You don't have to register for the whole conference. You can just register for this day. The registration is not open. I'm just telling everyone early about this. The topics are grant searching, case funding, or case studies about different funding from different projects. Training, kind of focusing on a 3-year block of action, like work plan actions for local coordinating councils. There's going to be a keynote speaker about the Sundance Film Festival that's coming to Boulder next year. And then more stakeholder engagement and partnership training, and then a panel in partnerships and collaboration. I do think this is a very good summit to attend. I will be attending. The registration, again, is not open yet, but I just wanted to plug early about this. And I think it'll be just a very good opportunity to see what is happening around the state and how we can bring this into Park Teller and El Paso counties. Any questions about the Mobility Summit? I'll have more information at our next meeting, and then maybe another email out once registration's open if you want to register for this event. We have the mobility guides. So I still have some cases about the mobility guides from 2025. So if you need some, please let me know. I can drop them off, or you can come and pick them up. We will be doing an update to them in this coming year. And it won't happen, like they won't be finalized till probably the summer. So if you need some, please let me know. If you need an online copy, that is the link, or just Google Mobility Guide PPACG, and it is the first option. I have this one. There's the camera right here. They'll just give you all the transit options from Park Teller and El Paso County. So we have a couple cases. Seth here is going to take a case with him. So if you need some, please let me know. And then an update, I'm going to beef up the guide just a little bit about more options. There's more transit providers within the area, so more about them. And then I'm just diving into an inter-regional connectivity, and just it'll be a more well-rounded guide. So if you need some, please let me know. Email, raise your hand right now, either or. Please let me know if you need another guide. Now we are going to go to a service provider spotlight. So this is something I would like to start new going into each meeting, is to highlight a service provider. And I wanted to highlight Ronnie Gordon from Teller Senior Coalition. So Ronnie, you have the floor.
Good morning. All right. So I'm the transportation manager for the Teller Senior Coalition, and I've been there for 5 years. And it's been a real change for me because I spent 25 years in healthcare, and now here I am in transportation. But I'm still getting people taken care of, just in a different way. This is the flagship of our organization. It's a four-wheel drive bus that we got last May through funding from CDOT, and it's a good step to get up inside this thing. But with the terrain and the areas we service, we are moving more and more of our fleet to all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. So we really appreciate that CDOT funded this for us. A little bit about the Teller Senior Coalition. It was created in 1996. We are planning a big 30-year celebration this summer. Our mission is to provide services to Teller County seniors at no cost to enable them to live healthy and active and independent lives. Our vision is a community where older adults live with independence and dignity. Transportation services started in 2004. We provide transportation to anybody 18 years of age and older. And our transportation is provided mainly for medical appointments, but where they need to go for other businesses and services, we can take them anywhere except a pot shop. That is because of our funding. We receive federal funding, so we can't take somebody to go get their medical marijuana or the business next door. That's another side story.
That is something that I ran into, not a tangent, but that's something I ran into back in Massachusetts. We got federal funding, we can dispensary, but yeah, they would go to the walk across the street. So that has happened. Yeah. Yeah. And so thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah.
As far as our staff, we have our executive director, Kathy Lowry. Many of you have met her. Myself, the transportation manager. We have a supervisor, Deanna Fleck, who's been with us a little over almost 2 years now. from a very different well. So transportation, we have one full-time business, 2 part-time, and 1 administrative assistants. 17 drivers. One of those is full-time. The 13 part-time, which means anywhere from 2 to 4 days a week. And then we have 3 volunteer drivers. Those of federal funding, you under training and requirements that go at volunteer driver to go through hours of training and all facts and everything. That's a big commitment. Services we operate East County, Western El Paso County, Southern Douglas County, and all of Teller County. That includes the towns of Florissant, Divide, Cripple Creek, Victor, Lake George, Guffey, West Creek, Cascade, Chipeta Park, and Green Mountain Falls. So from basically the light there on Highway 24, where you can take off to go up to Pikes, from there on west is the area that we cover. We provide transportation. We have our fixed bus route. Jared touched on that in his presentation. We also have a daily shuttle from designated or certain areas of the county. We go to that part of the county, pick people up, and bring them into Woodland Park for shopping, business, what have you. We also provide prescription and medication pickup and delivery. Our door-through-door transportation operates Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We can flex that a tiny bit for earlier or later for medical appointments. Our fixed bus route operates in Woodland Park down to Green Mountain Falls on Wednesdays. We do have an intercity connection with Cripple Creek Transit. They bring people down from Cripple Creek and Victor. We connect with them, run those folks around, and then reconnect with Cripple Creek Transit at the end of our fixed bus route. And they take those folks on home. That's worked really well, especially Cripple Creek will have some seasonal temporary workers. And so they don't have transportation. So it works really good for them to get to Woodland Park and get business taken care of or get some shopping done. Our daily shuttle is something that we've been doing for a little over 2 years now, and it's been quite successful, and we're actually seeking additional funding to try to expand that. So we'll go to a certain part of the county and pick people up. What we're finding is it's gotten so popular that we're needing larger vehicles. There's more people, so we're trying to break that up. We want to do 2 smaller vehicles or do additional days, because when you're picking up 6 or 8 people and taking them to Woodland Park to go shopping, by the time you get them back home, their ice cream has melted or their milk has turned to cottage cheese. And so we're realizing that we need to be more efficient in that route, those routes, and get people home sooner instead of having to ride around all day long. Their prescription medication pickup and delivery, as long as that prescription is paid for, and then we can get it picked up and get it delivered to the client. And that's been something kind of nice for them. If they're not feeling good, too sick to get out, that way we can get the medicine to them without them having to leave the home. Our fleet, we have 3 buses, and I say buses, they're not like Mountain Metro's buses. They're the Ford Cutaway buses, the body on chassis. So they will hold 14 passengers. They all have the wheelchair lifts, and one of them is that 4-wheel drive. We have 4 Ford Transit vans with the wheelchair lifts. 3 of those are all-wheel drive. And then we also have 3 Subaru Foresters. We have 2 Braun Intervans, which are Dodge Caravans that have been converted, that have a wheelchair ramp that comes out the side. Those are a great design, but our roads and terrain are pretty hard on them. We also have 2 hybrid vehicles, a Sienna and a Pacifica. We use those for our longer trips if the folks are ambulatory and can get in and out of them easily. Last year, you can see we put 243,831 miles on our vehicles. That's an average of 20,319 miles a month. So it's a lot of oil changes. Our funding, we get money from the FTA 5311 that's managed through CDOT. We also get money from PPCG. Thank you very much. We also get a grant from Colorado Springs Health Foundation. And then there's MMOF funding that we've got a contract. Hopefully we'll get that money. We'll see. We also get some funding from Teller County. We are Medicaid credentialed, so we can provide non-emergency medical transportation for Medicaid. And we also have a public fare program, and then we accept donations. Our riders, we have the 60 plus trans and assisted trans through PPACG. General public is funded through CDOT. And then anybody under the age of 60 needing to go to a medical appointment, we use the Colorado Springs Health Foundation funding to help provide them free transportation to get to their medical appointments. And then we also have the Medicaid. Little bit about us in Teller County. Last year we provided 12,521 trips. It's an average of a little over 1,000 trips a month. So you can see our size. County, our population, almost 25,000 people, ages 52. It's a bunch of us Gen X. Household size, 2 people per household. Trucks are only 16% up there under the age of 18. 27% are over 65. 3,300 metro county as well. You can see the poverty level at 0.2%. Depends on what you look at. Be higher, it could be lower. That's kind of what I was seeing as the average. Grant payments, and this is probably familiar to a lot of the folks online that are here in the room participating. With CDOT, we have to have wheelchair accessible vehicles and ADA compliant. We also have to follow the Disabilities Act, Title VI for civil rights, drug and alcohol, screening, testing, the Medicaid credentialing. Everybody wants to beat their head against the wall on that one. The procurement requirements, all the hoops we have to jump through to obtain vehicles with CDOT, equal employment opportunity, maintenance. We have reviews with CDOT. They come in and look at our service records and maintenance just to make sure that we're doing those frequent wheel changes. Also our lift and DOT inspections. Disadvantaged business enterprise, that's a requirement to receiving funding from CDOT and the FTA. Little difficult for us. There's not a lot of options up in Teller County for DBE. And then of course, just the environmental justice as far as having little impact on the environment and being good stewards. Future. We are in the process of migrating to a new routing dispatching software called Route Genie. I found out at CASTA last May from a sister agency that uses the same software that we use, that Paraplan, that it was going away, no longer going to be supported. So last May, we started the very strenuous process of trying to find a routing dispatching software to meet our agency's needs. And a big thank you to Good Wheels and Envita. They were really good hosts and let us come out to their agencies and see what software they use and watch it and get in it and play with it. We demoed their ones and we narrowed it down to this one to meet the needs for our unique little rural. And so we're growing and shifting and changing like that's always tough. So, but we'll get through it. We do have a call for capital funding request with CDOT to replace the 2-wheel drive Ford Transit that we have. And we're looking to replace 2 of the Foresters this year due to the high mileage. We also have a grant funding from CDOT for phase 1 to put out an RFQ for a bus shelter transit facility. And that's kind of big for us. And so we're kind of looking forward to it, but it'd be really nice to have some place where we had more of a transit hub and had a place to take care of indoors. We also have a funding request into CTE. We are hoping to use that for additional services, the shuttle services, work to kind of subsidize what we were using the MMOF money for, if that should go away. We're also looking to expand services down to Colorado Springs, let people get down here to Costco, Trader Joe's, go shopping. All right, challenges: hiring and training staff to a higher performance and expectation. They have drivers in 60. Most of our drivers, retirement job for them, get out of the house, have some travel money. So it creates a very unique dichotomy because everybody's bringing their years of experience to the table. But, you know, there's also that, anyway, just, they're there for fun money. It's not a job. It's not a career. And so, it's a different thing to work with, but I'm not saying they don't care deeply. We have the best group of drivers. A little bit of a struggle with other transportation agencies coming into Teller County, especially with the Medicaid reimbursement. But I mean, hey, if they can get Medicaid credentialed, more power to them. Our marketing, you know, our name, Teller Senior Coalition. So everybody thinks you have to be a senior to ride with us. Well, we're trying to get the word out that we do have services available 18 years and above. The reimbursement model is a little bit tough. If we do receive funding from CDOT for a vehicle, we usually have to write a check for that vehicle to the vendor and then wait for that check to get cleared, cashed. Then we can submit that canceled check to CDOT for reimbursement. And then that goes through that whole procurement reimbursement process, weeks. So, I mean, you're looking at, you know, you write a check for $70,000, $90,000 for one of these larger vehicles, and that's a big hit to your bank account for an agency our size. And you're just sitting there waiting, hoping to get it back. And so, anyway, and then I touched on it a little bit, the weather and the terrain and the roads that we have up there. Most all the roads are dirt gravel roads, decomposed granite. We go through tires tires and windshields like you wouldn't believe. So, okay, that's kind of enough about us. Anybody have any questions?
I have a couple comments, maybe not
Sure.
questions.
Sure.
You touched upon it a couple times, how transportation in general as a career in a field attracts a lot of different type of people. We have all different backgrounds, and we're coming in, like you said, you were in the medical field before this, and then for drivers, this is mostly a retirement job. I think transportation, no pun intended, but does bring people together and from all different backgrounds and fields. So thank you for touching upon that.
Sure.
Your 30-year celebration, if you need any help or from PBACG or anything, that would be a fantastic event to attend and you know, publicize. So if you need any help or anything, I would gladly help and attend.
Thanks, Lisa. Keep that in mind for sure.
Yes. And thank you so much for presenting. And I mean, I was taking notes, and I learned a couple things. And you also highlighted the partnership that you have with Good Wheels and Avita about the scheduling Route Genie. And I think change is hard, and it's gonna be a speed bump, but it's gonna be good to schedule those rides.
Yeah.
So thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Ronnie? So again, this is something I like to have at each meeting, a provider spotlight. So I will be asking around for other transit providers to present something very similar like that, just so we get to know more about other agencies and kind of break down the barrier, just kind of get to know each other, what each provider actually does for their transit services and how we can collaborate going in the future. So thank you. Okay, any member entity announcements from other, I feel like I've said stuff from PPCG. Do you have anything said? Anyone online?
This is Jacob with Mountain Metro. I'll just let everyone know we've concluded our public comment period for upcoming proposed service change. It's quite extensive in terms of what we're looking for. A lot of weekend frequency increases, one weekday frequency increase on Route 3, and then also with Route 3, proposal to go zero fare on our Route 3, which would connect two fare-free services with our downtown shuttle, the Zeb, and the Route 33 shuttle in Manitou. So we're excited about that. That's made possible through an agreement between the parking enterprise here with the city of Colorado Springs, as well as the city of Manitou Springs to offer that free fare along Route 3 as the proposal. We will be making the final announcement on March 4th, so that'll be here in another week and a half or so. And yeah, we'll be going from there. So any questions on that, let me know. Otherwise, you can find additional information on our website.
Thank you, Jacob. Any other announcements from different agencies? Okay, we'll be moving forward. You might have noticed public comments is towards the end. That is on purpose. There have been a couple of quote Zoom bombings recently where these meetings are open to the public and unfortunate materials are shown on the screen. So we've moved to public comments towards the end. So if just to try to mitigate some of that happening. So if there's any public comments at this time, come to the podium. No one's coming to the podium, or anyone online. No one's online, no public comments. Any items for future meeting? I will be thinking and creating an agenda for our next meeting will be in, let's say, April. We meet every other month, so the next meeting will be in April. And we can adjourn. Thank you everyone for attending. I really do appreciate it. You'll hear more from me about legislative updates, and maybe I can, pick and choose another service provider for a spotlight. So you'll be hearing from me. So thank you everyone for attending, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.